Welcome back to another episode of One Man Fast Break. Now, obviously, as you can see, it's not just one man today. I got my boy here, Cody. Welcome him. So we got a good episode cooking up today. Today, we're going to be talking about buying and selling stock. So obviously, like the stock market, you can buy and sell stock in a team on today's episode. So buying stock, you always want to buy. That's what they say. You buy low. But sometimes you got to just buy high. When everybody's glazing, you got to buy high. So we're going to just kick it off, man. Cody, how you doing, bro? How you doing?
Chilling, bro. I'm happy you got me on here.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate you joining up. I know you wanted to come on and do this with me. I got another homie. He's definitely going to watch this. I told him that he was going to be the first guest, but then you popped up. You was like, hey, let me get on there. I was like, all right, bet. All right, cool. So he's going to be my next guest. So if you're watching this, bro, be ready. So today we're going to pick 3 teams that we're buying stock in. We're going to pick 3 teams that we would sell our stock in. So obviously we're not going to pick teams like the Charlotte Hornets to sell stock. Obviously everybody knows that they're not going to be a contender to win a championship. This is for championship only. So I just wanted to preface my dialogue by saying that. Also, we are subject to being wrong. Just like everybody on ESPN, if you're right all the time, you need to take your ass to Vegas. Just go to Vegas, bro, because you have a real skill. So we're not going to be perfect. We're going to be wrong here. We're going to be right here. Only time will tell. Obviously, injuries play a huge part in everything. This is if healthy. This is all things granted. Everything is good. So I just wanted to say that. I feel like it was something else I was supposed to say, bro. That's pretty much it, huh?
Oh, no. That's
pretty much it. All right, so we're going to get into it. First, I got a couple honorable mentions I wanted to throw out. I wouldn't necessarily say that they were somebody I considered to be a buying stock team, but more so teams that I'm just proud of. My first one is the Pacers. The Pacers, since the start of the calendar year of 2025, they're 15-5, which is really good for them in the Eastern Conference. They've been 118 points per game for the since the calendar is flipped, which will be 4th in the NBA right now, all things considered. Halliburton started to get back in the groove. I know it was a lot of discourse about how he was actually trash. But I'm like, he's getting back into it lately. He's been scoring a lot more. He's not like an ISO guy that go create his own. So they've been finding ways how to get him involved. And they've had a solid year, but they've really been picking it up. I don't see them as a contender at all. Siakam was an all-star. So that was one of my honorable mentions, bro.
Yeah, I agree with that. Halliburton's a good facilitator, but the way he played in the playoffs last year kind of made me double take. Is he really an all-star or not? I don't know, but I mean they got good depth, and I'm sure they'll make a decent run, maybe first round. But besides that, I don't see him going.
Exactly. I'm just proud. I'm just happy to see that they like you said, they have all that depth on that team. Just good to see them actually doing something positive, finishing with a positive record. Because starting the year, they was like 500 for most of the first quarter of the season, and it was like looking kind of grim for them. You remember that Hawks team from 2021 where it was like, oh, they went to the conference finals and they've been terrible ever since. I was getting vibes of that. I was getting vibes of that. Mm-hmm. So it's good to just see that they're not that at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you got any honorable mentions, bro?
So I'm gonna throw the Kings out. Not this year in particular, but obviously De'Aaron Fox is a dog. Getting rid of him's kind of a tough loss. But you got Zach LaVine back, and you got the Hornets first round pick next year, which is, I mean, probably gonna be top 5 pick. Might end up being number 1. Who knows? And they got a team. They got Sabonis leading the league in rebounds. You got DeMar, who's a dog. And I remember when we were in basic training, we were talking about the Thunder when they had all those potential to be good, and we're like, 2 years that team's gonna be dangerous. And now look at
that crazy, bro. Ain't that crazy? Like this was 7 years ago, and we were in basic training, so we were missing a lot of the season. But they had the team is obviously so different because they've done everything perfect. They did everything as perfect as you could. A blueprint on how to rebound. It's beautiful. Then with them Kings, I like that, bro, because Bro, watch it. Obviously, the Western Conference is a dogfight, but it's so. I love like just regular season basketball. We as fans, we tend to kind of just it's 82 games. We just like tend to overlook the act like the regular season, and we always focus on playoffs. That's all we need to care about. But it's actually nice seeing a team that is like exciting. And in all reality, like let's just be real. If you took that, like I said in the previous episode, if that Sacramento King roster was in the Eastern Conference, that's a team I could genuinely see being in the conference finals.
Yeah, they could easily be 3-4 seed. Easy.
Yeah, easy. Like that they got so much offensive firepower. And I genuinely like seeing Malik Monk run the point. When he came into the NBA, he was a pure bucket. But bro, he could create his and for somebody else. It's nice to watch. So I like that. I like that Kings pick.
For sure.
I got two more honorable mentions real quick. I got the Pistons. Man, the Pistons, bro. Once again, I have no intention on these boys making it to even a second round. If they get in the playoffs, if they make it to the second round, I'm gonna be mind blown. But bro, they finished 16 and what was it, 16 and 68 last year? 16 and 68. Right now, today is what is today? February 22nd. They are 30 and 26.
22nd.
That's wild. That's wild. We're watching Cade Cunningham like blossom right in front of our eyes. Malik Beasley looking like a six-man of the year. His shooting and spacing is something that they heavily needed last year. I have this thing where if a team is super good, I watch them. Also, if they're super bad, I watch them. Like I want to see why they're so bad. When I watch those games, genuinely, like they weren't just getting their butts whooped. It was like they would lose like a 5-point game last year when they were on that losing streak, and it was because like there was no space around Cade like at all. Malik Beasley is helping that, and it's just good to see that they're finally getting their young core. Like all of them draft picks that they've had, I feel like they've been so bad for like 6 years straight, and they got a top 15, a top 10 pick every single one of those years. And it's just nice to see all of those picks are actually creating a role for themselves in the NBA. Like Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey get well soon. He broke his leg earlier this year, but good to see those picks come together. And I love that last guy, Dennis Schroeder, is on that roster. He's just able. I think he's in a non-traditional way. I think he's going to help Cade develop because I like seeing Cade not be on the ball so much. He's so high usage. It's just really nice to see him get off the ball. And I mean, that was what Jaden Ivey was there for. But obviously, when they lost Jaden Ivey, we needed somebody else to do that. And they went out and got Dennis Schroeder. And I think it's perfect. Dennis Schroeder fits in their type of pick and roll system super good. So, yeah, that's beautiful to me, man. Pistons, shout out to them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Schroeder's been doing his thing for what, like 12 years?
Yeah, bro.
Like consistent, like great bench player. You know what I mean? Cade is, I mean, he's doing what a number one overall pick should be doing. So high hopes for them.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Not so much this year, but I do like the way the Magic are trending. They got some young talent. Will they ever? And they are in the East, so hopefully they keep making good draft picks, keep getting good because I mean, Banchero's a stud, Wagner's a stud, even Cole Anthony's like, I mean, he's not great, but dude's a dog. So they got some talent. Hopefully, Suggs. So hopefully they can keep going forward.
Question about them, bro. So obviously I seen some stat on Instagram that was like screenshotted. Since Dwight Howard, ever since they drafted Dwight Howard. So I think that's like 20 years. They've been a top 10 defensive rated team in the NBA, even when they were trash, top 10. But they've always been a bottom 10 offense. So obviously that's a culture thing. Like, what is it that is going to like turn their offensive game around? Like, what is that? What is it going to
take? Draft picks.
Yeah.
I mean, they already got two. They got Wagner's averaging what, like 20, 22, 23. Yes. Banchero's about the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's 50 points right there. You need your role players to step up. Get some 3-and-D guys, maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's what Caldwell Pope was supposed to be. That he can't throw the ball in the ocean this year, which is kind of sad. But It's kind of like that. You know, I always these specialists like he's defensive in 3, and it's so crazy when like they can't do that one part of their specialist, like their specialty. Kind of like what, bro? You're not expected to. If I'm getting paid, like I don't know what Caldwell Pope is making, I would imagine like at least 17 mil. If I'm making 17 mil, I'm sitting in that. I'm going to practice every day, sitting in that corner until I'm a 42% 3-point shooter, dog. Like that's crazy to me. But yeah, bro,
I'm putting up 500 shots in the corner.
Easy. But it's good that they have their core. They got their core figured out. I think Jalen Suggs, though he might not be the true point guard for the future, I think it's nice to have a guy like that, even if he ends up eventually turning into a 6-man or like kind of a Drew Holiday role where he's like a shooting guard in a point guard's body, but he can guard. Jalen Suggs, he's an ex-football player. He can guard 1 through 3 easy. So right. I like that. I like the Magic. I like the Magic for that. My last honorable mention is the Clippers. Bro, if you told me coming into this season after losing Paul George, the drama, Kawhi Leonard, we started the year off, they said, we don't know what's wrong with Kawhi. Like, they literally didn't give us anything. They were like, his knees hurt. That's it. He's not playing. Like, I was reading reports like, well, what is it? His knees just hurt. So, like, if you told me coming into the year they'd be the 6th seed in the West with 66% of the games completed, I would be like, you're lying to me, bro. You're lying. So I just want to give them a round of applause, especially because they're not necessarily good at anything but defense, which is so interesting because James Harden is their point guard, a guy that's historically bad at defense, and he's older too. Like that's crazy. So like on the offensive end, they don't do anything special, bro. They're middle of the pack pretty much everywhere. But a third defensive rated team. I think it's just really cool. They got this new Intuit Dome. I live like 5 minutes away from it, like right here in Inglewood. So it's dope that they got a new stadium and that they're actually not trash in a brand new stadium. So round of applause to the Clippers, bro. That is spectacular to me.
Yeah, for sure. That's funny going into the that's one of my sell teams is the Clippers, but but no, yes, they're doing very well this year, but I see them falling apart very soon.
Yeah. Since they're one of your sell teams, we'll go in more depth so we can have a little bit of back and forth about that.
I was just gonna say the Rockets. I don't see them going anywhere this year in particular, but they got a young core. What they were trash last year, weren't they?
They were trash, but the last month of the season, like Alfred Sengun was hurt, and Jalen Green started going ballistic. He was averaging like 30 a game, and they were like, I want to say they were like 5 games above 500 for the last month and a half or something, but pretty much trash all season long. Yeah.
But now I see him trending upwards. So maybe once LeBron retires, they can maybe make a push. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. I like that. We just hint. We may talk about the Rockets later in this video too. All right, so let's get right into it, bro. The teams that we're buying stock in. I'll start it off. My number one team that I'm buying all the stock in is the Cleveland Cavaliers, bro. And I see you repping the hat. I remember you was a Cavs guy, bro. Bro, the Cavs, man. I have a bunch of notes on them. Like everything about them is just amazing to me. They got everything that you could want to, at bare minimum, get out of the Eastern Conference and be the Eastern Conference champions. Like they got diversity of how they play. They got a double defensive big. Real quick, I just want to say this. Everywhere I go on like online, I see a lot of like old heads or people that just don't know the sport that says everybody plays the same. Bro, please turn on the TV because this year is the most variable year ever. Like there's half the teams that play with double bigs like OKC or the Cavs, and then there's some teams that they literally don't have a center, like the Golden State Warriors, and everything in between. So like, and just even how their offenses operate. So I beg people to go watch. But I mean, Darius Garland his playmaking jump is just amazing. I was watching that Knicks game yesterday, and his IQ is beautiful, bro. Donovan Mitchell is great. Donovan Mitchell has just been he hasn't even had to be Utah Jazz Donovan Mitchell just because how locked in the offense is. I mean, they got pieces like DeAndre Hunter that I love. Ty Jerome is, I believe, the most underrated player in the NBA. I think he's underrated, dog. Yeah, but they just got everything. Floor spacing, diversity, two playmaking guards, a defensive front court. Let me just list off a couple of their stats that stick out to me. They are fourth in three-pointers attempted, but first in three-pointer percentage. So they're high volume, high efficiency. They're second in overall in two-point field goal percentage and overall field goal percentage. They're not a big offensive rebounding team, but as good as their defense is, they're able to close out possessions with their defensive rebounding. So they're sixth in total rebounding. So they close out possessions well. They're third in assists, moving the ball, but they're also third in lowest turnovers. Crazy. They got the best offensive rating. They are the eighth best defensive rating. They're fifth in pace, so they can play fast when they need to. It's just they're essentially almost perfect. I don't know. You probably got the Cavs on your list. What you got?
I mean, so here's the thing: is my obvious buys were the Thunder and the Cavs, so I didn't write my notes down for them because I know, like, I mean, they're definitely gonna make a push, but everything you said, yes, like,
yeah, bro.
And
like,
Evan Mobley is turning into one of the best centers in the league. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and that's the thing is like, I'm old. I'm 31. I grew up on bigs around the league for a majority of my life. So seeing two bigs, and Jared Allen's not like a big in today's era where he can space the floor, shoot, nothing. He's like a true five from like mid 2000s. And I love that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, weird that the Thunder and the Cavs running two bigs and they got the best records in respective conferences.
Crazy,
That's
right?
all I'm saying.
Crazy. It's so crazy too, because I put my key thing for the Cavs, if it happens, obviously health. But the one thing that they're relying the most on is Evan Mobley, bro. Obviously, like you said, Jared Allen, JA is a traditional five. Evan Mobley is this he is like this hyper athlete, bro. Like he can quite literally guard 1 through 5. I've seen him, like they switch, the Cavs do a lot of switching. They try to, when a great guard tries to initiate the switch on Evan Mobley, you can't do nothing. You're not just taking him off the dribble. So he's amazing. It's crazy, bro. So you got him doing that on the defensive end. I truly believe that Evan Mobley's a top 3 defender in the world, bro. Like he's switchable. He protects the rim. He's super textbook too. He's not like the raw, just block shots like how Wemby is with his length, but he's just like textbook. I'm gonna stay vertical. I'm gonna run you off the 3-point line, but I'm long enough to like stop you from getting an easy layup over me. So I got him as a top 3 defender in the world. But what's the key for me is obviously he's taking a big leap in his playmaking and in his 3-point shooting. Like right now, I want to say he's not high efficiency at all, maybe not even 2 a game, but he's 38% from 3. If that holds up in the playoffs, nobody's stopping him. Nobody's stopping him.
Yeah,
but that's my biggest. That's usually my biggest worry with the Cavs.
Yeah, I mean he's still young too, so who's to say he's not going to develop a better 3-point shot,
dude,
in the next upcoming years? You know what I mean? Like this offseason, and he starts shooting 45% from 3 next year. That's gonna be a problem.
It's gonna be more than a problem, bro. He's not even 24 yet.
A problem.
Yeah. So okay, good to see. Good, we got one in common. Obviously, the top of the Eastern Conference, but it was just like I felt kind of weird. The stock is very high right now, but I'm purchasing, bro. Purchasing for sure.
My first one was actually the Celtics. I know they won last year, so that's like an easy pick, but they top 5 offensive and defensive ratings. They got defenders everywhere, like Drew, Tatum, Brown, Porzingis. Who's old boy off the bench?
Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, Pritchard and Derek White.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're loaded defensively, and that's when your stars can play both sides, like actually lockdown. And they got so much depth, dude. I don't know. I could easily see them repeating for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I purposely left the Celtics off because I figured that you would put them. I was like, he probably gonna put the Celtics, and I'm gonna just be. I don't want to say I'm gonna argue against it because obviously the Celtics are the Celtics. What can you argue against? They're one of the best offensive and defensive teams in the NBA. But just being a somewhat of a devil's advocate, this is a very interesting thing. You know how basketball works in eras. There hasn't been since the 2020s. Now we're halfway through the 2020s, which is crazy to say. But since the 2020s, we have not had a repeat champion. And I wonder if that's interesting. I wonder if that's where basketball is going. If the playoff, what is it? Playoff fatigue? What is it? Finals? What do they call it?
Yeah, finals fatigue or whatever.
Yeah, like when you go. Yeah, finals fatigue. Like I wonder if that's a real thing, and if it's if it's just almost impossible to do again. Because I mean, this is one of the. I hate having the GOAT debate, but this is one of the things that I talk about when I talk to somebody about eras of basketball. The further back you go, it was easier to stack up rings. Obviously, the 60s, Bill Russell got 11 of them things. Yeah. Then you go up, you move up, Kareem, 70s, he got 6. Then you move up, 80s and 90s, Mike got 6. 5 with Kobe, LeBron 4. As time goes on, it's harder and harder to win more and more rings. And it's because obviously teams are more competitive. It's so much, there's more teams. It's a lot of factors that go into that. And looking at the Celtics, I'm like, I want to know if they're going to break the 2020s curse of back-to-back.
A lot of it is dudes just aren't as hungry as they used to be. Like right now they're looking at I'm getting paid, 40, 50 million. I got my ring. I'm solidified. I'm just here now. Whereas back then it was like the passion, I feel like back in the day was just so much higher. And that's not including like Bill Russell, because there was like 6 teams in the league. So whatever. But in today's game, it's like, I don't know. I truly do feel that way. Like they just don't, like they got theirs and I don't want to say they're okay with that, but they're not as hungry as the dudes like really trying to get one. Because you know how like Barkley and AI, they get disrespected because they never won. And it's like it's not their fault. They're one of the greats. So
yeah. We don't have a Kevin Garnett in today's NBA. No, there's not one. Really I do think these guys now, we have like hits or misses. Like Anthony Edwards is a guy that I think was passionate, but there's not a bunch of those. Everybody's so media trained. Like I think, for example, a guy like Jason Tatum, since we're talking about the Celtics, I do think he wants it more than everybody else, but he's so quiet. He's such a naturally quiet guy. So I don't think he's just going to ignite his passion as much as an Anthony Edwards or a throwback like a Kevin Garnett would. And I think that's how most of these guys really do approach it. And you're definitely right. They make so much money. I think that's a big piece of it. It's like hard to, it's hard to emulate what you wanted at first.
Yeah, I look at like, I don't know if you watch UFC or not, but like prime Conor McGregor was like hungry. He was so dedicated. He's winning. He's smoking everybody. And then he becomes he's on the Forbes top 100 for money. And then all of a sudden he starts losing left and right because his heart's not in it. He doesn't care. He's making all this money. He's living his best life. Yeah, and I feel like that's how these dudes are.
That is. Hey, this off topic, I'm gonna just take a second to do a little quick LeBron glaze. I'm a LeBron guy. JJ Redick in his last post conference game against the Blazers, he was talking about LeBron because the ESPN, it feels like for whatever reason, ESPN goes out of their way to hate on LeBron for just no reason. They brought some hockey player, you might know him. I don't even know who he is. Some hockey player was on there talking about how LeBron, how he doesn't care, he doesn't show. If you've seen the clip, you can go look it up. But essentially how careless LeBron is about basketball. And JJ Redick, after this was the same night, I want to say, they played the Portland Trailblazers on a back-to-back. And LeBron had 40, and he's 40 years old. And it's like, JJ Redick put it in great perspective, like, this man is a literal billionaire. He could just stop right now. He could just, if his heart isn't in it, people underestimate how much goes into actually preparing to play 82 games. He's recovering probably double than what a 25-year-old is. So he's recovering. His entire day is consisted of working towards his goal and his passion. So just being a billionaire and getting up off the couch to even just go play is crazy enough. But he's doing so much more to still be in my opinion, a top 10 player in the NBA. So it's just like people like shun him, and I'm like, ESPN, y'all need to get a life, bro. Like y'all gotta get a life, bro. This is crazy.
Yeah. I'll say so the clip I saw, he was just crapping on the All-Star game and how no one cares about that, which I agree. And I know you talked about it last week, but it is a joke. Like, no one cares.
Nobody.
The regular season, like you said, LeBron's 40. I think he has more stuff to worry about than an All-Star. And he didn't even play. You know what I mean? Like he has championships and like records on his mind, not an All-Star game. And his
they went as far as to say it was an attention thing because he didn't dress up in the All-Star uniform. And I'm like, bro, in quite literally any part of history, you could go to every All-Star game. Guys like Kobe, Yao Ming, if they've been hurt in an All-Star game, they wear a suit. They never dressed up. So I'm just like, you gotta do something, bro. Like, come on, stop this.
Yeah.
What they gonna do when he retires?
They're just bored out there.
They bored. What they gonna do when he retires? What they gonna talk about? Man,
what he had for lunch today.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's wild.
Yeah. You gave your Celtics as your first buying team?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that. My second one is maybe it's not as obvious, but it's a pretty obvious one. But I mean, I have super high hopes in this team. Like, to me, in my opinion, this is probably my favorite team to win it all. I got the Nuggets, bro. I got the Nuggets, man. The Nuggets are third in the NBA in points per game, third in rebounds, first in assists, first in field goal percentage, third in three-point percentage. They're not a uber defensive team. They're 17th, which is about middle of the pack, 17th in defensive rating. But that's enough to get stops in the playoffs, especially because they play at the 11th slowest pace, which I think for them is perfect. They don't need pace, especially in the playoffs when the game slows down. I mean, that's perfect. But obviously, you got the best player on planet Earth. Not just the best player. I think Giannis can contest that a little bit. But not only is Jokic the best player, but I think he's just the best offensive unit ever. That might be crazy, Glaze, but he's the best offensive unit ever, bro. Like everything, the attention is on him, and he's going to deliver, right? Like Jokic has the most efficient go-to shot of all time. Better than the one-leg Kobe. I mean, the one-leg Dirk. Better than the sky hook. He gets in that low post and he throw that hook. You know you're cooked. You know you're cooked. And not just that, but then you try to send a double. Do not do that, right? We all know what Jokic is as a passer. Don't send the double. There's nothing you can literally do with him.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do with him. And then you got a guy like Russell Westbrook that's actually contributed and has 17, 18 years of playoff experience. And Jamal Murray is starting to turn it around. He started off the season slow from being injured, but since the calendar year, he's been hooping as well. They don't have a whole lot of three-point shooters, but the volume is pretty low, but the efficiency is good. So I can trust that, especially in the playoffs. They just seems too perfect. Like, the only discrepancy is the defense, but like I said, the timely stops is all you need. They're able to get their hands on the ball, and when they need to run, they can. The experience is just amazing. Mike Malone knows what he's doing. He's a top 5 coach in the NBA to me. I love him.
No, that's actually funny. That was my second pick too, was the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask your opinion who the best player in the league was, because in my opinion, it's Jokic. I feel like he shouldn't have lost the MVP to Embiid a couple years ago, and he's probably MVP again this year, unless they get voter fatigue and they don't want to vote him in again. Dude's averaging a triple-double again.
Let's talk about that, bro.
What's his man?
You got the Nuggets, I got the Nuggets, so we both agree. So, like, how do you feel about that MVP situation, bro? Because people, they love saying, oh, well, we've only got this many 4-time MVP winners. But the way I look at it is, okay, we know that Mike should have won this many. We know LeBron should have won 10 straight MVPs. But it's not too late to fix it. It's not too late to fix it, dog. Like if we know this, we're just gonna look back in history in 10 years and say, hey, Jokic should have had 5, 6 straight. Why do we need to do that?
Because people get butthurt about it. And that's the thing is like, is MVP who had the best stats that year or who's actually most valuable to their team? Because if it's most valuable to their team, you're right. LeBron should have 15 of them things. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But in my opinion, Jokic is not very athletic. He's slow, can't jump, but yet he's the best player in the league. In a league full of athleticism, he's the best player in the league. How is that?
Dude, I think it's just because the emphasis, and this is why I think Euroball is obviously taking over. In the 2020s, every single MVP has not been American, not been U.S. born. And I think that trend is going to continue because, I mean, just it's skill over athleticism. If you're at that level, like the Lucas, Giannis, right? People don't view Giannis as a skilled player. But, bro, I mean, obviously he's one of one athlete, but he does little things on the court. Like defensive IQ is a skill to me. His help, he's probably one of the better help defenders in the NBA to me. It's the things that they actually teach in different places where they play basketball, whether it's a Canada or Africa or Europe. They're actually teaching the game instead of what we grew up on, and it's just all based off of getting into your bag and skill work. Like I think we need to practice on learning the game again, relearning the game.
Yeah, I know there's the highlights I see like in high schoolers and stuff. It's always like a one-on-one compilation basically. And that's not basketball. You need to learn to play fives. Yes, and that's exactly what Jokic does. Like he finds his teammates. He's literally the best passer in the league. Probably the most efficient scorer in the league.
He can do it all. He is. I didn't write it down, but I was looking at the team stats, and I'm looking at like some of Jokic's. Jokic is in the top. Everything offensively, he's a top 5 player. Like every single stat, he's a top 5 player. On top of defensively, he has little gimmicks. Like he's got active, quick hands. He's like second or third in the NBA in steals. Like we look at him as not a good defender, but at least he gets his hand on the ball. He's able to, even though he's not fast. Okay, yes, I know he's not a good rim protector, but at least he's in the spot, right? Like he's in the spot. So it's like you said, it's the little things, bro. It's the little things. As much as I love Shea, and I think their numbers, their advanced analytic numbers are like neck and neck when it comes to like plus minus and certain things. But at that point, when it comes to that, I'm like, okay, now let's say look at the stats because, right, like if y'all are that close analytically, like who if we're comparing value, if y'all are like neck and neck value wise, now let's go ahead and look at the stats and see who's better. And at that point, it's quite clear to me that it's Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because triple doubles I feel like are different from guards to bigs. Like when Russ got his triple doubles all those years, you could say he stat pads a couple rebounds a game, whatever. He still doing his thing, but like
you could say it, yeah.
You could say I've seen it.
Yeah,
and I love Russ, and that's literally a big reason why I picked the Nuggets. Him coming off the bench and him like actually producing. He doesn't have to be the star player anymore. And I saw he was shooting like 47, 48% from the field. That's for being a crappy shooter, as people like to dump on him about. I also like Christian Braun a lot. He's not like your star, but he produces, man. You got Aaron Gordon still doing it. DeAndre Jordan, rim protector. Top 2 in field goal percentage, effective field goal percentage in the league. Top 10 in turnover percentage. Like I think they're my pick out of the West.
I would say in modern era basketball, like extremely modern era, maybe last 5 years or so, I think, or maybe even last 7 years, I think after the Golden State Warriors breakup, I would say it's a role player's game because the stars are so good. The gaps between how good each star is like so minimal. But when we look at teams like, great example, the Dallas Mavericks last year, they made it so far because their role players did exactly what they needed to do. Like it is a role players game, man. And the teams that I put on this list to buy stock in is usually the teams with best role players, because what is the true gap between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown versus Shea and Chet, or Shea and J Dub? It's not huge. It's not huge, seriously.
No.
Yeah.
Comes down to your bench.
It comes down to your bench and the other three guys on the court.
Yeah, and that's why once KD went to the Suns and then they got Bradley Beal, I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like, there's no shot this is gonna work because they don't have anybody else besides. Yeah, like you can all create shots, you can all score 30 plus a game, but
like, what does that matter?
It's not gonna work.
what does that matter?
And what's their record?
Yeah, redundancy. Like a team like the Suns, that redundancy of just, we got all mid-range bucket getters. Bro, what? I hate that. I hate that so much. Sorry, like Suns fans.
That's a 2K team you put together, and you're like, I'm not gonna lose a game.
Yeah.
But in real life, like that don't work.
It doesn't work, bro.
It really doesn't.
Yeah. The Nuggets. For this one's a bit surprising. This one might be one of your sell teams, but the name of the game is buying low, and I'm gonna buy low even though they're a great team, regular season wise. I'm gonna go Grizzlies, bro. I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are, I think they're they're a very big slept on number 2 seed. Some of the things I like about them is that they're a young team, but they low key, their core has a bunch of playoff experience. Like, they've been in the playoffs, Josh Bain and Jaren Jackson, I think they've been at least 3 times. 3 or 4, maybe.
3 times, I think.
Yeah. Jaren Jackson's playing at an all-NBA level. He still can't rebound and save his life, even though he's dang near 7 feet. But he's still playing at an all-NBA level. Ja hasn't even been Ja, like the Ja we know and remember, but they're still number 2. Bain has been, after I forgot what injury he had last year that had him in and out of the lineup, but he's been bounced back and he's doing his thing. And then once again, the role players that they've got. The rookie, Jalen Wells, I love his game and just everything that he's been providing for them defensively. And he got the confidence of a number 1 option. Scottie Pippen Jr. can run the point like he's a Trey Jones copy and paste to me. Santi Aldama, Luke Kennard. Then they got guys like Gigi Jackson that just hasn't even really been playing, trying to get back healthy. Vince Williams Jr. Like, they got probably some of the most depth in the NBA that's young, like most young depth. Their 6th offensive rating and 7th defensive rating. I think that's top. They're top 7 in both. Like, I think they're the only team to do that. They are first in pace, which is a good thing. Like, they're playing the fastest. That's the only thing that really worries. One of the things that worried me about them, even though I am buying low, being first in pace is typically not where you want to be come playoffs, because the game is forcibly slowed down. And so that kind of goes into their half-court offense. Last time I looked, I didn't look for my notes, but I want to say they were like 13th or 14th in half-court offense, which is kind of just mid, and I think that's going to be really important for them. But Ja being Ja, he can really contribute to that if he gets – when the playoffs start, he gets back to the level that we know him as. He can create in the half-court. And I think the biggest thing that most people are scared, in a bad way, scared for the Grizzlies for is they don't really have a go-to star. Like, they don't really have a go-to like a lot of these teams with the Shea. I mean, we think Ja is that, but the way he's been playing so far this year, we're not too sure on it. But yeah, that would probably be most people's. That's what's keeping them away from saying they're going to be the team. Like, if you took I don't even know who's like if a Jason Tatum was just plopped onto this roster, in terms instead of a Desmond Bain, like if they swapped those, people would probably be like, Grizzlies are going all the way. So I think that's the biggest thing behind the Grizzlies. But hey, the name of the game is buying low. So I know I bought high on them other teams, but I'm gonna buy low on this one, and I'm gonna go with them for that reason.
That's interesting because I have zero faith in the Grizzlies in the playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah, for a lot of the reasons you said, like, I feel like they are just like go, go, go. And like you said, playoffs, game slows down. Jaw's good. He's explosive. Triple J is nice, but like, I don't know. I can see him getting out of the first round. That's it though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My third buy, it was the Lakers, surprisingly. I almost put them at sell, and I was like, you know what? I see they're 24th in rebounding, so like they're not that great, but they're like, I think top 5 shooting percentage, top 10 in offensive rating, and that's before Luka, right? So that's add Luka to the mix. You got Reeves, obviously you got LeBron, best to ever do it. You got Hachimura, you got, and even though he's not that great, Jackson Hayes, he's like a good energy player. Your bench is nice. They might make a run. I don't know. I mean, you're the Lakers guy. You tell me.
You know what a perfect transition, because that was my first sell team. As just being as non-biased as I could, you know, the fan in me says absolutely. But my analyst side says I don't think so. And the reason, I have a few reasons. Okay, the reason I didn't put them as an honorable mention or a buy, I would mostly say is because I think that the way that they're going to win is very much matchup based. If the Lakers, if we played a team like OKC or a Denver Nuggets, a team with real size that uses their size and their ability to get to the paint, we are mashed potatoes, bro. Like it's free parking over here, free parking. But if we play, if we were to so happen to avoid any of those two teams, mostly specifically those two, and we played like some Rockets, or I would even have us against like the Grizzlies. I would take us over the Grizzlies just maybe in 7. If we play teams like that, even though I know Ja's like a monster at getting to the rim, and they got Jaren Jackson Jr., who's been killing the post-up game lately, I still think our offense, like some of the notes I wrote for the Lakers, is like we have probably the biggest offensive firepower potential in the NBA. Like Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves. I think JJ Redick, even though he's a rookie head coach, he has enough intel to be able to cook up enough with those 3 guys offensively. Meanwhile, I watch every Lakers game. We generate, I don't know the numbers, but from what I watch, the 3-pointers we generate, they look wide open. Like every one of them we take, well, not everyone, but because LeBron shoots some heat checks. But a lot of the ones that we generate for Rui and a lot of our role players, they're great. They're great shots, bro. So I'm like, offensively, I think we could genuinely be the best team in the playoffs. But the defense and the lack of size is just what's so glaring to me that I'm scared of. I know Luka's not in shape yet, but man, dude, LaMelo whenever they initiated the switch and got Luka to guard LaMelo, it's just straight to the rim, and it just opens up everything for even a bad team. The Utah Jazz were doing the same thing. We lost to them right before the All-Star break. And another thing that I don't like about the Lakers is that the role players, besides Dorian Finney-Smith, they have 0 two-way capabilities. It's either one or the other. Like Rui is great. I think he's like probably the best 4th option in the NBA offensively, but his like defensive IQ, I watch him get lost probably every other play. Like he gets lost every play.
Yeah.
Or you got guys like Jared Vanderbilt, who is a stud on defense, but can't put the ball in the hoop if you paid him to do so, which they do pay him, and he can't do it. So like I don't like that our role players are just so one-dimensional. And obviously, like I said, Luka's not in shape, and I just don't like the center options. The Jackson Hayes, I like Jackson Hayes' energy, but he just strikes me as unless Luka gets in his bag and is just force feeding him open buckets. I mean, which is very possible. We've seen Luka do so. But unless that's happening, bro, I just don't believe in Jackson Hayes at that 5 spot. And then like Alex Lynn is a backup, and like Christian Koloko, another backup. Like our center rotation is just horrible. And a team with Luka, you need some backline protection, and we don't have none of that. We don't have none of that. So that's probably the reason.
So let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
if that trade would have went through, they got Mark Williams. How do you feel about it?
Looking at it with hindsight, with no hindsight, I should say, I think I'd be a lot happier. I would miss Dalton Connect, but I'm not really worried about our perimeter shooting and creation that heavily because we got 3 guys that could do so well. I would be a lot higher. They would bare minimum be in my honorable mentions. I would probably, being a biased Lakers fan, I would probably even buy stock. Yeah, but bro, I just don't. And only reason that I say that is because of Mark Williams' health. But if God forbid, I mean, I'm sorry, not God forbid, but if God allowed, if everything was perfect and Mark Williams was just this super healthy center, I would be very high. I would be very high. Like if we, for example, a guy that I would have loved is like Jalen Duren. Bro, that would have been beautiful. That would have been beautiful, bro. That's probably my biggest reason I'm out on the Lakers.
You can never count out LeBron. That's what I've learned in the past 22 years. You know what I mean?
No,
even though he's 40.
Yeah. You know what, bro? Honestly, another team on my one of the teams I was very, very close to putting on my. I don't want to like spoil it in case you have them on your selling stock list. One of the teams I was going to put is the Milwaukee Bucks, but it's just something about when you got a top 3 player in the world, it just don't feel right. Even though I know I put LeBron on here, it doesn't feel right picking against a dude that we've seen do it. It doesn't feel right. And given that Giannis is in his prime, I was like, I want to do this, but I can't. I can't do it.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
All right, who you got for your sells?
That was so. Lakers were my first sell. Who's your first?
The Clippers.
Oh yes, shoot. Let's get into it.
Like you said, they're great at defense, right? Norman Powell's a stud. I also used to follow the Sixers quite a bit. Harden, and I mean, I used to watch the Rockets all the time too. Harden falls apart in playoffs. First game he'll give you 50, and obviously he's older now, but they give you 50, and then you'll see him shoot 30% from the field the next 4 games. Like he's not a playoff performer. If Kawhi even plays, well, he's played what 7-8 games this year.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe 10 or 15.
If your star players aren't on the court, you're not going to do nothing. Yeah. But yeah, that's my main reasons, and also they're 27th in turnovers. So, they're the third worst in turnovers in the league. So
right, they don't protect the ball.
You're turning the ball over. Harden's not going to do anything in the playoffs. I don't see them even making it past the first round.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely not. You're not wrong with that. I definitely see their ceiling as a second round exit team as the peak. That's the best they could be. Like if they got a favorable, if they just so happen to like play the Rockets, I think they'd get past them in the first round if the Rockets stayed where they were at. Just based off of experience only, and that's like best case scenario. But I think they lose in that second round. Let me ask you this: if Kawhi like got onto a roll and got back to I know this is slim chance of happening, but if Kawhi was a top 5 player in the world in the playoffs only, like if he played like 2019 Kawhi or 2020 Kawhi, is it possible? Like would that move the needle for you at all?
First round, but that's it. Simply because Harden. Like he has the ball in his hands almost every possession, and he can't get it done. Straight up cannot get it done.
James Harden definitely has his playoff woes. But yeah, I mean, also somebody to give a shout out to, Ivica Zubac has changed his game a lot, bro. He is underrated defensively. He's low key cold. He can punish you in the paint. He's a rebounder. He's a sturdy center. I wish my Lakers still had him, bro. Like imagine that. Could you imagine that right now with this roster? Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you though. They don't have a very high ceiling, and their floor is pretty low as well. I mean, shoot, just there's a chance they could even slip back into the play-in. And it genuinely, if they played in the play-in, I don't know how much I'd even trust them to get out of that first play-in game or the second play-in game. So you got a point there.
And keep in mind, Harden's in my top 5 favorite players of all time.
Yeah,
like
no,
I love the guy.
He's
but
probably,
it's like he can't get done.
He's arguably one of the most transcending players in at least the last 30 years. No, he is. Not probably. He is.
I've had arguments with dudes. I say he's third best shooting guard of all time. MJ, Cody, Harden. And people say D Wade over Harden. I put Harden over there. The only argument you have is Wade won some rings. That's it.
I mean, I think he just hit 30,000. No, did he hit 30,000 points recently? Am I tripping?
I think so. I know he was close.
Or it was either 30,000 or maybe he hit 27,000. But yeah, he's obviously a top scorer ever. So and he's a guy. He got off to a late start too. So just imagine if James Harden started with the keys in his hand too. So that's something to consider. I personally think I think I'd give Wade the smidget of an advantage, just based off of the defense. James Harden is not as bad as a defender as we made him to be, but he just wasn't very good either. He was just pretty average. But I think I'd give Wade the slight advantage, but not by much. If you said James Harden, I'm not arguing with you at all, bro. So I hate doing this, but for my next team that I'm selling all of my stock in is the New York Knicks. I'm selling it. They say it's good to sell high in the stock market also. A couple of things I just don't like about them is they played 6 times against the top 3 teams in the NBA, and they're 0-6 against the Cavs, OKC, and the Celtics. 0-6. They eventually, inevitably, they'd have to play either the Celtics or the Cavs. No matter how you stack it against them, they have to play one of them. And I just genuinely don't see them beating them. Like the physicality. Maybe if Mitchell Robinson comes back, he's another injury-prone center, but maybe if he comes back and can give them a little bit of toughness, maybe. But I mean, Josh Hart got the most heart on the team, no pun intended, and he's 6'4", right? Like I just don't believe in that. Karl-Anthony Towns is having he's having an All NBA season. It's probably one of the better years of his career, maybe one. But like their team, the defense, they have perimeter defenders, but they just don't have that it factor. Like they're 23rd in rebounding. They can get stops, but they don't really close the possession out. They're 29th in blocks. They don't really protect the rim like that. And in defensive rating, you would think for them, for a team that has those Anunobys and Bridges, they're 21st in defensive rating, which is like, it's crazy that like a team like the Nuggets with no true lockdown perimeter defender has a higher defensive rating than them. And they don't have nearly the offensive peak that the Nuggets got. So I'm selling all the stock. I mean, they're a really good regular season team. I love Jalen Brunson, what he is on offense. Karl-Anthony Towns, once again, I think Karl-Anthony Towns is a center that's just not, he doesn't welcome contact. I just never like bigs like that. So yeah, I would sell my stock on the Knicks.
That's who I had too. Literally everything you said is what I had written down. So I'm fine if we just move past that. I have no faith.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry, Knicks fans. Y'all had hey, prove me wrong, please. I would love it. I actually like the Knicks roster. I want to see them do good, but sorry about that, Knicks fans. If any of y'all watch this and see this. And my last sell team, I know we brought them up in your honorable mentions. My last sell team is the Rockets. Only reason that they're in my sale, a lot of people wouldn't even call them a contender. I mean, anytime you 66% of the season 66% into the season, and you're a 4th seed, 3rd seed, fighting for 3rd, I'm gonna call you a contender, man. But it's just some of the offense is it's actually abysmal. It's pretty bad. I love that they are improving, but they have just a bunch of issues like floor spacing, efficiency in the 2-point and 3-point realm. Like they're second in field goal attempted. So I mean, they shoot a lot. Their pace is high. They shoot a lot of shots, but they're 25th in field goal percentage. That's just not a good mix. The 28th in three-point percentage. Their two best players to me, Alfred Sengun, and I mean, we might have an argument. Amin Thompson might be the second best player, genuinely, but the two guys that are stamped as the two scoring options, Jalen Green and Alfred Sengun, are just not efficient guys like that. Jalen Green, I see him as a Zach LaVine type of scorer, kind of a microwave. But I think he's so young, he hasn't honed into the efficiency side of it. He shoots some very questionable shots. A lot of long twos, a lot of chucked up threes. Sengun is great, but I mean, when he gets in that post, he misses a bunch of like bunnies and layups and stuff. But they got a bright future, bro. The Ime Udoka, he is giving them culture. The defense is real. They rebound crazy. They get stops crazy. They close possessions. But I mean, we're gonna give them. I think we're further than we think in the unless Amin Thompson turns into like a legit 37% 3-point shooter, which would be like, whoa, then we might be talking about something. I think it's going to be a couple years. They're like a piece and a half away from actually being a conference finals type of team. I might be wrong again. I would hope I'm wrong. I love seeing young teams go crazy, but I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I just had them in my honorable mentions. I said in a couple of years they might be good. Jalen Green, he's like stereotypical like AAU ball highlights on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a one-on-one player basically. And I know he had a nice mixtape, but I agree with everything there. Literally. Yeah. My third sell is the Mavs. I know they're lower. Mm-hmm. I think they're like 6th or 7th right now, but I mean AD's hurt. Two centers, Gafford and Likely. I think they're both like 6'8", undersized, very, very athletic. But if Luke is not throwing them lobs, like what are they doing?
Yeah.
In my eyes.
Lively's a bit bigger. I think he's listed at like 7'1" or something, but he's hurt right now. So I think so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, Gafford just got hurt too, but I think Likely should be back next week, or he gets reevaluated next week or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, like they got, I mean, you have Kyrie, you got a nice little bench, but they're not the same team they were last year in my eyes.
Yeah.
So I don't see them. I don't see them going.
Yeah. Once again, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I agree to it. I don't think this year. I think we might just call it a wash. But just being devil's advocate, given health, I don't know when Anthony Davis is going to come back. I haven't looked at his, his evaluation or anything on his injury. But let's just say this team had complete health. Once again, Kyrie is actually one of my favorite players, but I just don't trust Kyrie as the one, like the one option. I think he's a phenomenal 1A or 1B. I'm sorry, 1B option. But it would be Kyrie and Anthony Davis, two guys that are historically just not good as the guy. And obviously one of them is going to have to be the guy. But I think genuinely with some of the size they got on that team, if given health, if they were healthy, they might have snuck onto my buy list. I know we really hate Nico Harrison around these parts because just the craziness of that trade, bro. But if that team was healthy, they have like a tiny window of like they need to win in like 2 to 3 years, max 3 years. But if they was healthy right now, I think I would be a believer, bro. I think.
But I mean, they still got to make it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I think they're 6th or 7th. If all these dudes are hurt, are they even going to make the playoffs?
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's the way I looked at it was, are they even going to make it? If they make it, I mean, everyone has a chance, but.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I really think they might just slip out.
Especially with a guy like Kyrie, bro. Like I said, I love Kyrie, but when it comes to like him being in his since he's turned the calendar over to like 31, 32, he's just not great when it comes to having a bigger good defender on him. And now with no Luka, we don't have to worry about who's going to be guarding Kyrie. We'll know it'll be the other team's best perimeter defender, no matter what team they matched up against. So now you're going to put the bigger best defender on Kyrie, and I think teams will live with Anthony Davis shooting long twos. So if even with given help, so yeah, it will probably be kind of a recipe for disaster, bro. That was your third team, huh?
That was my third team. Yep.
Man, bro. So I mean, hey, this episode was a little longer than I anticipated, but it was just great, bro. I couldn't stop yapping.
Yeah, you said like 30 minutes. I looked down the clock. I'm like, oh, it's been an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, dog. I'll edit out anything I need to edit out, but I mean, it'll probably still be around an hour anyway. But I mean, the people that have been subscribed or like have been actually listening, they told, like, and I can look in the YouTube app. They've actually been locked in. Like most of the time, the people that are watching my videos are watching the entirety of it. So I'm like, hey, that's just I'm just working on growth, bro. Working on trying to get better, improving my. I mean, I think my takes are going to be my takes no matter what. I'm going to be wrong a lot. I'm going to be right a lot. But just getting better at learning all of this media stuff. So that's the goal, dog. All right, y'all. Episode 3 is wrapped up. It is Saturday, February 22nd. So we're going to see what it's a lot of games popping off tonight. So we're going to be tuned in. Appreciate the watch, and we out.